Okay, so we all have data, right? Whether it's a shared drive at work, your massive movie collection at home, it all has to live somewhere. But have you ever stopped to think about the invisible highways it travels on to get to your screen? Because it turns out there are two totally different roads your data can take, and believe me, the one it uses changes everything.
I mean, really think about it for a second. When you double-click a file on a shared network drive, your computer is basically sending out a request. It's asking for a very specific piece of information. The way that storage system answers that request, well, that's what we're digging into today. And you're about to see the method it uses to deliver that data back to you makes all the difference in the world.
So it turns out there are two fundamental philosophies for solving this whole data storage puzzle. On one side, you've got NAS, which stands for Network Attached Storage. And on the other, you have SAN, the Storage Area Network. Now, they both store your data, sure, but they approach the job from completely different angles.
Let's break this down with an analogy that makes it super simple. Think of a NAS as your local public library. It's right there in the middle of town, accessible to everyone using the public roads, which, in this case, is just your standard office or home network. When you want something, the librarian hands you the whole book. That's the entire file. A SAN, though, that's a whole different game. It's more like a high-security private archive. It has its own dedicated high-speed delivery route, and instead of sending you the whole book, it sends you the exact individual pages you asked for. We call these blocks of data, and it gets them to you incredibly fast.
So that's the big picture idea, right? Library versus archive. But how do these two systems actually work under the hood? Let's dive in and break down the technical showdown between these two storage giants.
This table right here, this gets to the absolute heart of it. Let's start with data format. A NAS, our friendly library, serves up whole files. Your computer sees a shared folder and thinks, hey, that's a complete video file. Simple. A SAN, on the other hand, works at the block level, which is way more fundamental. The server sees the SAN storage not as some folder on the network, but as if it were its own local hard drive, just a big pool of raw data it can manage itself. And that difference explains the network type. NAS just uses standard Ethernet, your typical computer network. It's sharing the road with all your other internet traffic. But a SAN? To deliver those raw blocks without any delay, it needs its own private superhighway, something like Fiber Channel, totally free of any traffic jams.
And of course, these technical differences lead to some very real-world trade-offs. Because a NAS is sharing that public road, its performance can get bogged down by other traffic. That means higher latency or delay. A SAN, with its private highway, we're talking blistering speed with almost zero delay. But that performance comes at a pretty steep price. SANs need specialized, expensive hardware and usually an expert to set them up. A NAS, on the other hand, is often a simple plug-and-play box that's super easy to manage. It's the classic trade-off, isn't it? Speed and power on one side versus simplicity and cost on the other.
All right, enough theory, we've got the basics down. But what does this all mean in practice? I mean, when would you actually choose one over the other? Let's get practical and look at some real-world situations.
A NAS is your go-to solution for anything involving sharing. If you've got a small office where everyone needs to get to the same project files, a NAS is absolutely perfect. It's simple, it's affordable, and it's a collaboration champ. The same thing goes for at home. If you're running a media server like Plex to stream movies around your house, well, that's a NAS. It's all about providing easy access to whole files for multiple people.
But a SAN, that's for when speed is literally everything. When you absolutely cannot afford a single millisecond of delay. Just imagine a huge e-commerce database during a massive Black Friday sale. It's not dealing with whole files. It's reading and writing tiny little pieces of data, those data blocks we talked about, thousands of times a second. That requires the kind of instant, raw access that only a SAN can deliver. The same is true for high-end professional video editing or for running hundreds of virtual computers on one machine. These are mission-critical jobs that demand the pure, unadulterated power of a SAN.
So you're probably thinking, okay, but do I really have to pick just one? For a long time, yeah, the answer was pretty much yes. But today, the line between these two worlds is getting pretty blurry, which is creating a much more flexible future for how we store our data.
And that more flexible future is called unified storage. This is a pretty brilliant evolution in the storage world. It's a single, modern system that can speak both languages. It can serve up whole files like a NAS for all your collaborative office stuff, and at the exact same time, it can provide that raw block-level access like a SAN for your high-performance database, all from one box.
Think of it like this. It's like having one single toolbox that has every single tool you could possibly need.
Instead of having to choose between the simple, reliable hammer of a NAS and the powerful, high-speed drill of a SAN, you get one versatile toolkit. It gives you incredible flexibility, offering both easy file sharing and raw block performance from one single, manageable platform. It's a real game changer.
So at the end of the day, the choice really comes down to this one question. Do you need a public library organized for easy browsing and sharing of entire books? Or do you need a private archive built from the ground up for the high-speed direct delivery of specific pages? Understanding that core difference, well, that's the key to understanding your data's true home.